All right, we were playing a little bit of Eve while killing time before SCL, but we now have SCL out, so we're going to head over there and watch it. So let's see what this is all about. They're pretending like it's something entirely different. This was completely done for the Chinese bar citizen thing, but it was community questions that were asked by everyone in the community, is my understanding. It was just the guy who did the translation, I guess he was on the far left of the bar citizen question and answer, did respond to me in my comments, and thank you for that. You were super cool and everything, and you speak great English. But he handled all the translation here for the Chinese bar citizen, but for some reason they only gave it out for them for a week, and then we get it a week later, basically. So I don't know how relevant any of this information is, but we'll see. Here we go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Star Citizen Live. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee, and this week's show is a special pre-tape show for our friends in Xi'an, China. As we do at this time of year, they have this big, giant, mega event with something like 2,000 people. I don't know. I've never been invited. But a big event. They submit questions. We go through questions.
Oh, never mind. They submit the questions. I thought it was a whole community thing that was on Spectrum, but okay.
Pick the ones that we can address on the show. This year, we opened a thread up on Spectrum to the rest of the community to integrate their questions in. So we get questions from all around the world. This is our typical Fleet Week show where we take questions all about spaceships and spaceship gameplay and spaceship design and spaceship balancing and why haven't you made my spaceship the way that I want you to make my spaceship? Why? Why didn't you make my spaceship the way I wanted you to?
Don't want to.
Fair enough. So we're gonna dive into the questions right now. These were culled from both the list from our friends in China.
That's
and
basically
from
the answer they give.
And right off the bat, we should introduce people. John, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name is John Crew. I'm the vehicle director here at CIG, and I look after all the vehicle teams, primarily the content ones.
Okay. Torsten. With a new title. Tell everybody who you are.
Ni hao, I'm Torsten, Assistant Design Director at this point. And I look after still the system design team, tech design team, AI design team, so a bit more responsibility at this point.
And that's the gameplay that sits at the center of the game.
Correct, yes.
Yep. And Rich, certainly. Welcome back. We had some confusion about how you got here before the showtime.
So,
tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So I'm Richard. I'm the lead designer with the vehicle experience team. So we look after kind of the vehicles, vehicle balance, vehicle gameplay, and work very closely with Austin on just how the vehicle is playing the game, basically.
So like this is crazy because it didn't used to be this dynamic. It used to be this was the dynamic. But now we're doing gameplay people have to decide the overall vision of things. Probably a good thing, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out.
So you got the people who make the ships, the people who make the game, the people who help the ships interact with the game, and somewhere in between all.
Like when we talk ships, it was these two. It was your car salesman, which is basically John. Sorry, John. It's just fucking true at this point, who was focusing on the gameplay, but he wasn't really doing anything gameplay-wise because the game didn't have any gameplay. But now that the game has gameplay, they're interacting more with the Torsten types that do the things like mine, or have done at least the things like mining, salvage,
all
shit
three,
like that.
usually we
the
can
things
find
that
an answer to one of these
ships
questions.
Are. It's not meant to be a low blow. It really isn't. Like, guys, that was the initiative at the company. He did what his job was to do. It was to sell spaceships, right? And he did it amazingly. It's literally not a compliment, because I think it's the worst thing for the game possible. But how many of you put your foot down, stand up, tell your boss to go fuck themselves, and get fired and say, this isn't the best thing for the game possible? The boss decides, The boss always makes the worst decision possible. You, as somebody who maybe played the game or in the management or front of the line position, which many of these people on the screen are, have no say in what happens, and they just do their work at their job. I don't hate any of the people on the screen. They just do what they're told to do because somebody above them said, this is what we're doing.
So right off the bat,
right?
Like, in no particular order, this show will probably be a little bit longer than normal, and certainly not better for being pre-taped. I think we've proven that already. We want high difficulty PvE content where players can team up for extended sessions. How will this be expanded going forward? Well, this seems like a very timely question. We've got the upcoming tactical strike groups. Talk to us about TSG.
How is it in PTU
TSG
still?
will be introducing the need for different ships and for multiple players playing together, working together, and basically coordinating themselves and going in with...
On a good server, apparently it's tough.
Resolve the mission. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, we have a lot of ships in the game, and they all have very different roles, and
we have a lot of ships in the game, and they all have different roles. I wish that were I wish that was more the case. Like, what's he saying is true. But I don't think if that was like their goal, they're not achieving that at the best level.
TSG finally sort of brings together the requirements for person A in ship archetype 1, person B in ship archetype 2, and they can work together to complete the mission. Because TSG's not like do one thing, mission done. It's a layered, staggered, sequential series of events that one ship is not. You don't need one ship to do it. You need multiple types. So.
But you basically just need two, right? Two types. A ship with like ballistics and missiles, and then a Polaris or an Idris. And I guess the ship with missiles and ballistics needs to be smaller, essentially.
Using different types of gameplay, different objectives. We've had this concept. The PO's been around since 2015. That we're building this spaceship MMO where you need to bring together fighters and repair ships and capital ships and bombers and stuff like that.
Oh, the repair aspect too,
for a coordinated attack. We've had this promise for a while, but a lot of our content, and I don't think I'm telling anything anybody doesn't know. A lot of our content tends to be very FPS focused. For this reason or that, as systems are being developed, as flight models are being tuned and retuned and stuff like that. Now,
that's a really good point too. Do you want them to make a lot of ship combat stuff right now with the current flight model that you already know is changing, that most people are not in super love with, or not even the flight model? Engineering in the state that it's in, ship armor in the state that it's in, weapons in the state that they're in? Probably not. Like, yes, you want content because you're bored, but you want the content to be based on the more final product, right? So them doing FPS, a lot of people complained about that, but it's probably for the best that they didn't do it.
This is the first major step forward. We're not going to hit everything we want to do in this first thing. But TSG represents this first major step forward at these coordinated, extended PvE spaceship experiences for the game. And there's literally no content drop that I've been more excited about, which is why it was the centerpiece for CitizenCon Direct last year, to see it finally arriving here at May and tied in with a big fighting spaceship promotion alongside.
Welcome.
I wish we could take credit for it. That was entirely happenstance. It's really nice. So it's a really exciting time for Star Citizen. And by the time this airs,
imagine is he talking about the Hammerhead variant? Do you think there, or you think he's talking about the battle cruiser? Because the battle cruiser is irrelevant to this whatsoever, unless the idea there is, tactical strike groups will get bigger and better and more fancy or whatever. And I want a battle cruiser for that content. It's probably the Hammerhead, right?
People will have been playing it in PTU and stuff, and hope they're seeing the amazing work the team have been doing.
TSG lining up a defense con. That makes sense. Got it.
Majority of questions for a show like this, which is, why haven't you made my ship the way that you want me to make it? Comparing the RSI Perseus's in-game appearance against, I really didn't time that, against its original concept art, the original concept had a much cleaner look, while the flyable version features many irregular and unconventional design elements. How did the team envision this design evolution as you move towards production?
Okay, so part of that is just how things work during development. A lot of the older ships, so Polaris and Perseus, for example.
How are those old ships?
The actual concepts of them are in 3D, but they're very low detail 3D, and then they have all the details painted over it in 2D in Photoshop or whatever. So when you actually come to put into production, you don't have any of that detail. You put the corridor pieces in, and they are just flat sections. And as any artist will tell you,
they're old concepts. Guys, they didn't exist as concepts until I had already been in the game for 4 years. Just the concept of time here is fucking insane when you think about it.
Not good looking. So you add these details, and the Perseus built on the lessons we learned from the Polaris, which we talked about many times before. We went with a sort of brutalist style approach to it, which we liked. Lots of people didn't like. So we wanted to sort of course correct a bit with the RSI style. So the Perseus are a lot more detailed in those corridors, and you'll see more of that evolving in with the Galaxy, although toned down a little because it's not military, it's civilian. So things that were amped up have been toned back down again for the Galaxy, but it's all built from that same kit style. And you sort of need that level of detail to make it look good. You can't just have flat walls that are the RSI trapezoidal shape. It doesn't work. So it's sort of as you're in there, you need to build and add layers whilst being mindful that it's not, here's this wall section that I've made as an artist, and I want it to be the best wall section I've ever made in my life, and it's going to look really great on my portfolio, and then it's repeated 30 times down the corridor. It just overloads everyone's brains and eyes. So it's sort of, you have that, and then you break it up with lower detail bits just to give eye relief.
Yeah. At scale, you need more irregularity.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the repetition becomes far more in your face.
When you have some of those corridors, it's less so the Perseus, but still you have corridor sections that are 5-6 segments repeated. You need something irregular to break that up. Otherwise, it just looks copy paste all the way down.
There's also something to be said about new people who have joined the project since a ship was concepted. People come to the project and they come with new talents, new skills, new experiences.
The
technology
new ideas
improves from the time when something was concepted. And the idea that you just come in and just have to Control-C, Control-V something that was designed years ago, it's uninteresting to everybody. It's like we've all learned so much. We've all gained so much experience. Of course, we're going to apply that, to these ships as we build them, and that means changes will occur. And I think anybody, if I'm allowed to have an opinion, I have said this often, the ships today that are made today are better than the ships that were made last year, are better than the ships that were made.
Of course, and your opinion as part of the marketing team, making the ships that are more expensive than the ones that were made previously. Oh, wow, that's kind of crazy that you would think that. That's weird. I wonder why.
They may change so much, but I almost universally for the better. It's one of the few things I'll say you can kind of just draw a line across.
He's right, though. I'm obviously just trolling, but
so that's a testament to, well, not you, John, but the people who are on your team.
But it also shows the major problem with selling ships previously. It's also a huge problem with selling the previous ships because people paid real money for those. They built your company. You built your company on those. And you have made ships that far outclass them. You have made ships that people paid real money for, now classic cars in the fucking game, to make more money. There's so much wrong with this. But there's also so much right. We get so much better now than what we ever thought we would have gotten because of the way they're doing it. But it's not all good, right?
The people that do the work.
Light fighters, medium fighters, and heavy fighters currently feel like their roles overlap and their counter relationships are unclear. Will there be a rework to better differentiate them?
Short answer to that is yes. But the long answer is, they are relatively close. So, so our light fighters are actually pretty heavy and pretty big, themselves. So it's no surprise that that kind of range of ships, it does blur the lines. But we've been putting a lot of work, over the past 12 months on the new flight model, and we're really working on how we make these ships interact with each other.
Them saying the new flight model is it an entirely new one again? I don't think so, right? It's just improving on the current one that we have, which they're calling the new flight model. I think it's important to make that distinction.
In different ways. So there's different advantages and different weaknesses in each archetype. But also, been working with Austin on the weapon balance and the armor changes, and that's going to really, that's already started to have an impact on how these ships interact as well.
Yeah, actually, it's something that we discussed a lot lately in the vehicle leadership meeting that we all have, where we so we need to treat fighters more as its own bucket. But in that bucket, we also need to treat the fighters differently so that there is a clear identity between the fighters. And this is something that we have been working out. The new flight model that Rich and his team is working on is also moving us into that direction, that there's a better distinction between the fighters.
What does that mean, though?
Something that also came out from the feedback that we received with all the armor rework that we have been doing is because we have right now in the game, in 4.7, in 4.8, hopefully not anymore, this hard gap between heavy fighters and medium fighters and light fighters. So there's this, even a stop gap between medium fighters and heavy fighters. So we decided on that doesn't paint the picture of fighters, because fighters have to fight each other rather than there's one sitting outside that is immune to light fighters. So one consequence of us discussing in there was also bringing that closer together, but still maintaining perceived differences between these fighters. So there's still a meaningful choice that then also plays into all the content that we are doing now for spaceships.
Torsten understands our struggle, it seems like, when we play and recognizes it. But it's going to take throwing something in there and seeing how it works. But what are the perceived differences between ships? I'm very curious where they want to go with this. And obviously they always just stay vague, but what's the difference between a light fighter, a medium fighter, and a heavy fighter? And how are you going to achieve it? Because they've already tried this. We have interceptors, we have heavy fighter, and we didn't achieve it last time. What are you going to do differently this time?
You better bring a heavy fighter, but there are also opportunities for the light fighter.
Yeah, it's something we talked about before as well that I want to reiterate, is that you don't do 20 hours of light fighter. I've done light fighter now, so now I'm going to upgrade my role or career into medium fighters and then heavy fighters. They're tools for different jobs. They're not
what jobs? So these are the things that they do that they need to stop doing. Is they need to decide what the jobs are and tell us what the jobs are and work towards that game. But they don't do it because you need to create the jobs in your mind, and then it doesn't matter if you get upset later because you bought the spaceship already. So they don't fucking care. And I don't think they do this on purpose. I think they're vague because they are human beings and they do not like the criticism. Nobody likes criticism. It doesn't feel good to be told that you suck, right? But sometimes they suck. And somebody has to tell them it. And I'll be the guy who jumps in front of the bus and gets fucking made fun of by every other content creator. I'll get, shunned from the community team and stuff in Star Citizen. I don't care. You guys suck at explaining this shit. And to this one, I think you do on purpose. Because I think you do on purpose because it sells spaceships, but I think you also do it on purpose because you don't like the criticism, right? And in reality, they need to figure out what your game is going to be and sell me on that game and why it's so fucking cool, right? Because I've said this a million times. You've already nailed what separates you from everyone else. That is the flying down from space to a planet, walking around your ship while you fucking do it, and, you know, the game being extremely immersive in that way. How are you going to make everything else matter, be cool, feel good, be meaningful to a player? Why do I fly a light fighter? Why do I fly a medium fighter? Why do I fly a heavy fighter? It doesn't need to be overcomplicated, but they go super vague, and then they overcomplicate, and then they confuse everyone, and then we do it all again, you know, for the next 5 years. And it's like, man, just fucking pick something and sell me. Sell me why it's cool, and you know, then we'll be in. It's fine.
Power upgrades, you can obviously upgrade, but it's a choice of how your gameplay is to go from light to medium. You could stay a light fighter for all your game time if you want and have a perfectly great time. You don't need to go up the chain if you don't want to. It just gives you different opportunities and different experiences.
Yeah, it's just, what are those experiences? I think what he's trying to explain is light, medium, heavy isn't a progression path. I get that part, and I appreciate that he jumps in and wants to mention that, because that's really important. A distinction to make, because he often comes on camera and says, your small mining ship is just a stepping stone to your big mining ship, right? Or your starter is a stepping stone into your this. So it's an important distinction to make.
I think there was this big expectation when the F8C came out that it was just going to be the the I win button, everything, and it's not. It's not intended to be.
Yeah,
It was at the time, though. That wasn't an expectation that we had. That was an expectation you created.
Like, it's something that we have been trying for ages already, that we want to have, like, each category has its own purpose. Sometimes we are doing
I can't stop but help pausing. But then you put 50 guns on the newest ship. What, the last gun had 49 guns, the new one has 50. Right? So you don't do anything to make that distinction. You just add more guns. And this isn't to Torsten. I don't think he had anything to do with this at the time. Right? But that's what they did. If they didn't add more guns, they add bigger guns. You know what I mean? It's what they do.
Like, we hit we hit it, and it's actually working out the way that we intended, but sometimes we have to do slight adjustments, and we are right now in the adjustment phase, especially for the fighter, and they have a focus right now, especially in the new flight model testing. We focus very hard on the fighter, that they feel great, that they feel different. And I'm actually looking forward to the future for fighters in our game, because I think we are on a good way there. We just need more testing, and
So I have to ask this. This is my own follow-up here. Every time we bring up the new flight model, this is starting to feel after.
I have so much more I want to say about this. Like, an interdictor, all it does is fly fast, but it doesn't interdict anything.
Many years now,
or interceptor, I should say.
Like the Benny Hill song starts to play. When we talk about this new flight model is always right around the corner. It's always, well, we did that, and then it got us part of it, but then we learned more. That's part of having a testing environment in the middle of your development. We don't have to do it all in one. We can put a part of it out, test it.
Yeah. The Mantis is like a really good example of what to do, how to create these differences, right? The Mantis catches up to you and slows you down. But, like, what does a Buccaneer do that a Gladius can't? It's just turning, right? That's all they really have right now. So what I'm curious is like, what new levers are you going to create that create these differences between the fighters? Because your current levers are speed and turning, armor, and the number of weapons, and they've never really been able to get that. And I guess stealth. So, I think they need to add a few extra, like, interesting layers to the puzzle to maybe range. I don't know. Range could definitely be a thing for sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's going to send us in a different direction. But constantly being sent in different directions.
A buck is a counter to a mantis. Fine, but also not. Like, I think you know what I'm trying to say here. Is more clear roles, which is what they're trying to do.
Constantly having this conversation about this, and it can start to sound like noise.
I also think a missile boat is the counter to a mantis, not a buccaneer, but yeah.
As it covers years.
Tank DPS healer roles, kind of, but it doesn't have to be like that.
We're not talking about when. We know that most of this work is happening in Squadron and stuff like this. I'm going to ask you how you feel about the flight model right now. Like you're in there, you're playing it. There's a question in here later about whether.
Bro, what kind of fucking question is this? We're never going to get an answer that a backer can appreciate from this question. How do you feel?
You guys are playing it. You guys are working with it. You have to in order to test it. It's in massive testing with Michael Smith's team and that's what it is. How is that going? How are you feeling about it?
So in the current game, I think we've got a really good flight model, but it's lacking some of the levers that we want to pull to make the ships feel different.
Yeah.
To do the light fighter to heavy fighter.
What are those levers?
Also not just fighters, to make our large ships feel like massive ships that you're really pulling through, to kind of turn and move the ships around. So
see, this is the struggle that I have. Is the feel is always the feel. This. The weight, the speed, but like, what about roles that they play? There's like unique components that they could have, unique weapons that only they could use, right? Where the role is also a feel. Now, I know that's not what he does. Like, it's different. I think that's more of what a Torsten would do. But there's a difference in feel than just the way they fly. Yeah, like, he's focused on the physics. That's totally fine. I'm not saying he's wrong, but there's this extra layer that I would love to see that I think would really help. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I don't want to be the guy who makes the comments on how spaceships are and how they should fly, but I also don't fly them because they don't have that feel that I'm looking for. If I had a clear role that wasn't DPS in a combat situation outside of like maybe the Mantis, because that's kind of, I don't know, I would want to do that. But because we don't have it, I don't participate in it as much. Right? Where like mining is a very clear role or salvaging is a very clear role.
I do think our current flight model is really good and it's a really good testament to the team. But we've learnt so much since we've introduced it. But I would see the new flight model as not just within the how the ships fly, but it's the overall flight experience that's going to kind of change drastically. So, we aren't going to rush out there and just put out a piece of the new flight model and not have the rest. So, we're kind of looking at this as soon as you take off in your ship, that is the flight model starting. And then you go all like the way to the full new, kind of quantum experience. And that's going to be the new flight experience, really. So it's not just a flight model and how the ship's flight's going to change. It's the entire flight experience is going to come as like, one, kind of package.
And
which is what they told us the last time they did a new flight model, and everyone hated it and was frustrated with it, eventually figured it out, liked it a little bit more. Some people didn't. But when you do it all behind the scenes with a bunch of people who aren't going to play the game when the game comes out, it's and I know who Michael Smith is, and he is a guy who will probably play the game when the game comes out, and I have a lot of faith in him. But we've done this before, and it's been unsuccessful. So putting it out in pieces probably made more sense, and they went this internal route, which is definitely just for Squadron 42 for sure. And when it comes to the PU, it's going to get torn apart probably, but it's not just being done internally because they've done their focus group testing with players and it didn't get leaked, right? So I don't know how much of that they're doing. We'll see. So I always am worried because the last flight model was exclusively internal and it came out and it was like, what the fuck is this? Because we play and they don't. They do have players testing it though.
And that is just an ingredient, right? Because it's also like the bullet speeds that will change, or the weapon behavior, let's even describe it more broadly, is what adds a lot to the experience as well there. And yeah, there were, again, a lot of discussions just last couple of weeks around what we can do to actually improve the feel, because there's CR wants this very cinematic combat that we are now getting close.
CR wants. Okay, well, fuck it then. You know, it's over.
And that's
GG.
the reason. Like, I would even describe this as our red line in our iteration over all the flight experiences, flight combat, and flight changes that we have been doing over the years. It's like we always try to aim what CR was envisioning, and there were always like some information that we get additionally, and then we could improve a bit more on what we actually wanted to achieve. And I think we are now getting close to like where we would get the CR seal of approval here. And especially like we did some tests, was it last week, with some like weapon changes that will not make it the way that we tested it in the game, because we are not ready for that yet, but we will do a step in between for that. That is increasing the ranges for weapons and slowing down the bullet speed. It gives already a more cinematic approach to all the battle, or all the fights, and it helps also tremendously with having, like, even though with lower speeds, it might sound a bit contradicting, but actually with lower speeds we have a more agile combat, because we have to bring closer together. You are able to dodge bullets more than you are previously, so there will be some. Or the goal for these changes is to have an agile combat in a closer range, which is exactly what CR wants for this game. And yeah, then with all the flight changes that we are working on, we are moving slowly into that direction. And the reason why we have to move slowly, and it's not a negative thing, is it's something that we learned last year when we did all the changes at once for engineering gameplay in a one PTU cycle, and we learned, no, that was a bit too much. So what we are doing right now is we do these increments now to have, like, I think we talked about that in some of the other SCLs. We have a very focused view on what we change, and we can iterate or we gather data untinted from all the rest that we did. So we know exactly when we put something out, okay, all the feedback that we receive is around that topic. For the next patch it will be, so we did some armor adjustment based on the feedback on the armor release in the last patch, because we only did release the armor changes. In 4.8 we will do some bullet speed changes, bullet range changes, so we will get feedback on that, and then we can iterate over that, and in the next patch there might be something new for flight behavior, combat behavior.
Yeah, they're all, I think it's always around the corner problem is for Star Citizen, it's all interconnected. Like, if you change flight speeds, you have to change projectile speeds, lifetimes, shields, like it all, and there's a lot of
and
ships,
thank you, Snugs, as well.
And you have the PvE side, so you've got to do all the AI side, as well as coping with the player side, which...
So I'm just sitting here going, okay, so they're just talking about weapon speeds, they're just talking about bullet velocities, they're not really talking about adding any clear roles from what I can see here. It's just...
A lot of this work was done in Squadron a long time ago, and
it's still so muddy, it sounds like. So
Squadron Live.
We'll see what happens in the game.
Constrained scenario sets, like we know
I can't
exactly
listen to
what the
this
player's
shit.
going to be doing or should be doing.
And not in the way like I can't listen to this shit, I need to leave. It's just like there's no point in listening to conversations like these, because they eventually make it to the game and then you make your own opinion, right? It's not that it's not boring actually to me at all. I find it to be very interesting. It's the problem with it is they're trying to put into words what you feel. And the only way for you to understand it is by feeling it. Every time they talk about the flight model, the conversations are never worth having. It's just put it in players' hands, get the feedback, done, right?
Against who, in what formation, and you can quickly iterate there, but when it comes to bringing that over to Squadron, bring it over to Star Citizen, you're 10, 50, 100 timesing the amount of work there to get that same experience at a larger scale. So it plays really nicely. Everything gels together really well, but we can't just like piecemeal parts out without some big drops like we did with engineering, where it was too much and then the feedback just goes everywhere and it's disjointed. So it takes a while to roll that out.
Artie, I'm good. So guys, thank you for the support. Appreciate it. You went nuts.
We can see landing gear with wheels. I just went into my Count Disco there. Blah, wheels. Yeah, see landing gear with wheels. If the new flight model is implemented in the future and atmospheric flight becomes a fully realized option, would there be any possibility of switching to wheeled landing gear or even cooler ground effect hover landing systems?
The wheel side is something we want to do. It's not connected to new flight model in any way. It would be different programmers doing that. But yes, we have a lot of Origin ships.
Jeez, Teufel, thank you, dude.
Most of them have wheels, as well as some other manufacturers. And
Wartime.
In fact, Chris was talking to me this.
And Sawyer, thanks, guys.
This very subject. Maybe he put this question in there. But
hey, just to be aware, I appreciate all the support, guys, but I got to focus on watching the show and making comments and stuff. So I don't know what to say because you guys are going insane. I appreciate you so much. But there's an audience who on Twitch wants to hear what I have to say for some reason. And there's an audience on YouTube that hears what I want to say for some reason. So I can't stop every second and thank you because you guys are subbing literally every second. So I'm going to say one blanket thank you so much right now. And then after the show, I will thank the rest of you guys. So if you stop now, it is totally fine. I understand. If I make less money for this, it's totally fine. I understand. If you feel upset, I totally understand. But I worked in a tip position my entire life. And if I stopped the poker game and thanked the guy who gave me a $25 tip, the guy who just lost money is going to feel bad, right? Or whatever. There's lots of people here for lots of reasons. So I try not to just make it about me. Try not to just make it about you. I appreciate you guys so much. You've changed my life, and I appreciate you. But we'll move on. Thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
When can we get proper steering wheels and landing wheels on the Origin ships?
Will there be more alien ships with different roles?
Thanks,
Currently,
Marcus.
most alien ships are dedicated combat types.
Yes. So this starts with the Raylan Alien Week in June. And
Cargo.
I think we will see a couple more this year that are alien.
There's other alien ships coming, right?
Alien ships and not combat.
And they're not combat. And they're thumbs upping. I don't want to hear any leaks. I wonder what those are, though.
Torpedoes and missiles. I just leave it there. Torpedoes and missiles. Go, guys. Torpedoes and missiles sometimes have difficulty hitting targets. Their purpose remains unclear. I think their purpose is clear. I think whether they achieve it is unclear. And
Torpedoes and missiles should no longer be physicalized. It should be just art, animation, something that goes on the screen that we see. And there's like a calculation in the background whether they hit or not or something. I don't know.
the reliability is very worrying.
I don't know how easy that is to do or not to do.
So we have a big kind of missile rework, planned at the moment, where the core aspect of what's wrong with missiles right now is just it's really hard to predict where they're going to land because they're so quick. So we've got problems with networking. The missiles are very small and agile. Like they're way more agile than the ships. So the inaccuracies you see sometimes it's just how they are predicted to hit at the moment. That prediction.
What about the fact that like locking on like just doesn't even work anymore, right?
Isn't
weird
hitting
thing.
the mark all the time, but also it's to do with count measures as well. So I would say we've got a linear relationship right now, which is you do a count measure and the missile misses, right? But that's not the intended really goal of how the missiles work. We want more kind of clear kind of readability of where the missile's coming from. Because at the moment, if you've got a missile coming at you and you do a count measure and you get hit, it's bad. And you don't know where it's coming from. So we want a much more kind of clear kind of readability of, where the missile's coming from. But it means we've got to change the flight of the, kind of missiles themselves. Because the moment the missiles fly in a kind of fully decoupled way, where they can change direction very, very quickly at the last minute as well. So again, it's that kind of predictability at the end where they do go suddenly doing like this to you. But we want that to be much more predictable. So, we want to slow them down a little bit so, you can actually evade them. But also that slowing down makes it easier to predict where they're going to hit as well.
Oh, Burks is going to be very happy to hear this. He's been asking this forever.
Like we kind of want to do stealth gameplay. So, you can do things on your ship yourself to make you less susceptible to missiles, but we need all these systems to come together, as one big package of how kind of missiles work. But that's where kind of Thorsten comes in as well.
Yeah, actually we did some steps already to improve the missile gameplay. So not on the missiles themselves, there are issues that are even quite high on our immediate fix list for that. We don't have a feedback right now, visual feedback for that the target lock is completely done. So this definitely needs fixing. So we
is
already
that the bug that we all deal with?
On the UI
Probably.
improvements. There are some, there are reasons why it's not in yet. So we are still actively working on that, to getting all the changes across.
Okay, so that's why you have to, because that's why it says visually, because you have to hear the audible lock, but for whatever reason, it's just sitting there static and it looks like it's locked. Got it.
But
okay.
At least it will help for the initial missile gameplay that we currently have in the game. As Rich already said, the speeds of them are now with the updated bullet speeds for the normal weapons. They also unproportional again, so that means that this is definitely something we need to tackle afterwards. And for the stealth gameplay, actually, we did some changes already around that. So engineering gameplay influences the EM signatures, IR signatures are also driven by the cooler functionality. So we already have player decisions impact the signatures. Also with actually a shout out to Michael Smith there. It's basically his doing that we have the cross-section is only detectable now by active ping. So it's actually something that was brought up in our vehicle leadership meeting, and we just acted on it because it works out quite well. Has the downside though that the cross-section missiles now need an active ping, and there's also some visual indicators missing. So we have a list of things we need to improve, even for the missile gameplay that we currently have in the game. But we also are very aware that the missile gameplay is the gameplay that we can improve a bit more even after these quality of life changes, because we have dedicated missile bolts, we have dedicated ships with a lot of missiles on them, and we have to make it fun for missiles. It needs to be an exciting gameplay, and right now it's more and I'm very sorry to be that honest, but it's more like a side thing to do.
Yeah.
The benefit though, and I have to advertise it, is missiles ignore the armor checks because they do so much damage. So if you have a small ship and you want to crack the armor, use a missile.
It seems like one of the more difficult tasks, because if you have a ship with missiles, you want them to be amazing, you want them to be effective, you want them to be devastating, because they cost a lot to reload. CR is always on about you shouldn't be able to, replacing a missile or a giant S7 torpedo should cost you, a lot, just like it does in the world. So if it costs you a lot, they have to be effective. But on the flip side, if you're on the other side of that missile or a torpedo, you need to have options to defend yourself, to survive and whatnot. And it's no matter what you do, somebody is going to be like, yes, that's great, and somebody's going to be like, that is the worst change ever. Because there's no, like, it's very hard to find a middle ground there, because if you get killed by a missile, missiles are terrible. I should have had more things to do. There are a couple questions in here.
I feel like this is an excuse for, we made lots of bad decisions, and like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Like, we never really focused on making sure our combat was fun. We just kept selling spaceships. Like, right? And we just kept making them bigger and faster and better and more missiles and, you know, like, but we never actually sat down to think, is this fun? Are people enjoying this?
We've sort of hit all of them, so I'm not going to ask them. Where, you know, there's no lead pips on, you know, shooting down torpedoes and stuff. You know, we wanted to make it easier to shoot down the torpedoes. But if you do that, then torpedoes become less effective. So this constant give and take is just...
Yeah, but even with the torpedoes, it's like right now with the lead pips, it's basically impossible because they are traveling so fast. So we have to reduce the speed again so that they feel also correct for a torpedo, because a torpedo should not target a small fighter, because they are meant to...
you can shoot torpedoes down.
Yes.
If you mess with one thing...
There's got to always be this element of chance. Like, you can't make it so that you can always shoot them down.
Yeah.
Because then they're ineffective. And you can't make...
And that's what a real game would do, because a real game has skills, and then those skill checks happen in the background and determine whether or not a hit happens. But that is not the CR vision. And that's the problem. That's not the CR vision. The CR vision is, it's all about your hands on stick and stick. And that's it. And not all games need skills, even MMOs. But I'm speaking to what Jared's saying. And you agree with that vision? It's been 14 years and they've been unable to achieve it. So you can agree all you want, but it may never be fun. It may never be fun, and it may never be a game. Like, an MMO requires many people to exist in that game and play a lot. The design that they're doing is the antithesis of that, right? Skills in a first-person game would be odd. Yes. But they kind of still have to be secondary. I'm just saying what Jared's saying is, like, there needs to be this element of chance. But what determines the element of chance? It's like skills, it's the components, it's the, you know, the effort that you put in, right? So I'm agreeing with Jared. Skills help make that element of chance make sense, right? So then if you're putting in your time, then the chance of it not hitting you goes up. If you're putting in your time on the missile firing side, then your chance of hitting goes up. And it's easier to understand, and it makes more sense. I'm saying that the idea of being 100% player skill-based has not worked. And there has to be something that changes. I'm not saying that they have to make it an MMORPG. I think if I was Chris Roberts in 2012, that's what I would have done. And I think the game would be more popular and more interesting and more fun because of it. But I'm only one person, and I'm just me. I'm not saying that, you know, I don't want to take fun away from somebody else that somebody else thinks is fun. I'm just sharing my opinion, and you're fully fine to disagree with it, but you're not going to find me coming off that opinion. Skills are an incredibly great way to balance a game, make it interesting, force people down a certain path so they need other people, right? You know how they're saying, like, everything's cohesive with the ships? Well, there's nothing that's cohesive with players because everybody can do everything.
It so that they always hit and destroy their target. Otherwise, so there's always got to be this gray area of chance.
Yeah,
War Thunder missiles are good, probably because it's hard to lock on,
It's got
right?
to make sense for both parties that what happened. If it hit or miss, it's got to make sense to both people that are on either side of it, which is a really difficult thing, because it's a really hard thing to communicate. Because in real life, if you've got a missile coming
Could be both, Todd.
at you, you have one option: press the button and go, evade. But if you get hit by a missile in real life, that's it. You're going to go down, right? So, it's just a question of balance, and it is really fine tuning because it requires so many systems to come together. It isn't just a flight; it's the emissions and everything else. So it's just it's a really fine balance, which we get right sometimes and we get wrong other times.
But overall, I would really say, and it feels like I'm repeating myself, with with the decision that we do smaller changes continuously, though, we are now way better suited for where we want to go, in comparison to where we threw in a lot of changes all at once, in comparison to like how we worked a couple of years ago.
So, by the time this airs for our friends in China, we will have announced the Anvil Odin battlecruiser. Our big
Dude, the smirk that he has, like, what is... It's... I don't understand it. Like, I assume he just thinks it's a very cool ship. But it has a very weird vibe to me, like... I'm not going to say it, because it's pure speculation. It's fucking libelous. It's fucking garbage, and it's shit for me to say it. But, like, I don't believe this. I don't believe this to be true. It just feels this way. Like, he has some stake in it. Right? Like, that's what it feels like. Like, I'm already sick of it because he's been teasing it for forever. Like, it's something special. Like, if they sell this many, he gets a bonus or something, But I think he's just a nerd about it. Like, he just thinks it's cool. And previously, ships like the one that's never coming out, the one with the Mixmaster, he just had an investment in the advertisement for it or some of the design for it or something like that. So he felt ownership of that ship. This is probably a similar case, but it just has like the way he's doing it, it feels so yucky. But everything about ship sales feel yucky to me now. So I don't know. I think I know I'm overreacting to it, but it just fucking annoys me. I'm so tired of them.
Biggest ship that we've ever attempted to put into players' hands. A massive undertaking. It's twice the size by volume of a Javelin. It's just huge. I say this because this next question is right to the efficacy of a ship like that. Currently, it is difficult for pilots and gunners to coordinate effectively. Pilots have a hard time knowing what their gunners are targeting and what firing arcs are available. Gunners also struggle to relay continuous targeting for sustained attacks on a single vessel. Can this be made better?
So there are different endeavors we have around that. So there's one big that is more like globally for the game itself, which is all the social work that is planned to be improved. Because I think we talked even about that, was it last SCL? Where it's like, for an MMO, our social aspects are
pretty shit.
Can require some improvements.
Yes, the social teams that Benoit's team is working on will be essential to a huge part of this.
So that will also help a lot with communication on your same ship.
But like, be advised, this social initiative seems like a very long process. Like, it is not going to fix all the problems initially. It is going to slowly solve little problems here and there, I feel like.
So, the voice over IP is always a topic that, like,
it sounds
if
like it's
it
just
works
chat
really well,
is the first one.
It can be really good, especially on communication in close proximity on the ship. So that should help. But there are also like issues that we are aware of, and they sadly didn't get prioritized yet. But because of all the content that we now have targeted to multi-crew purposes, multi-group purposes, like the sharing of markers and helping at least communicating where to aim at.
Sharing of markers? You mean locked on targets or sharing of like marks on a planet's surface?
These are definitely something that we have on the list. There's also like all the marker improvements that have been discussed at this point for 2 years that we are still working on. Also, like as with a lot of things, right? There's always a clash of priorities. There's always someone coming in
2 years
to the
on
room
markers.
and say, like, no, this is the highest priority now. So we have to shuffle things around a lot. But it doesn't mean it is forgotten. It is at this point just not to.
I know I like him. Thank God for Torsten. Am I wrong here? He explains things just much better.
Day. It's maybe tomorrow. And especially the marker work, I think, will help the most. He's making it easier again to share markers, share targets, having even a better visuals of this is the target that is supposed to be the target.
And gives, again, someone a role on that ship to be the person.
Yeah.
Do this.
Absolutely essential for these capital ships, the Idris, the Javelin stuff. We've seen these images of the map table and stuff. Having there be a role that is all right.
role.
That's our new target. Being able to click it and for that to go to every turret, gunner, like this is your target. When this guy comes in front of you, that's who you're doing. It's absolutely essential. There are for many people. And I'm going to include myself. People always ask, like, what kind of Star Citizen are you? Like, from the moment I learned about the project, I have always wanted to be the capital ship guy. I want to be the guy. I suck at flying, and I suck at shooting and all that stuff. But give me an overview of something, and I can make good decisions that'll help. Like that's where my strong point is. So that role that we're talking about here, being there at the desk and going, okay, it's gunners 1 through 6, your target's this. Gunners 7 through 12, your ship is this and stuff. Like that is my dream, which is why something like the Odin battlecruiser is very exciting to me. I just have to live long enough to.
Yeah, especially for that, we even have very, very clear long-term goals.
Yeah.
I think we briefly mentioned it in our Road to 1.0 discussion from Rich Tyra, where
it's in the Road 1.0 stuff.
Yeah, so where we have this fleet management as an opportunity for you to do tactical decisions on your ship.
Yeah. Now we just need enough people on the field to be able to actually achieve that. So this is the best part about Star Citizen is they have a role that they want to sell a ship for like over $3,000, could be up to like $7,000-$10,000. Like who fucking knows how much this thing is going to be, right? They're going to sell a ship for an absorbent amount of money where the highlight of the ship is you being a fleet commander pointing out all the ships that you're supposed to kill, but they have never proven that they can have more than 10 ships anywhere near you at any given time without your frame rate completely tanking, the server fucking losing its mind, desync going out of control, right? But you go, oh my God, I need that ship. They've never proven to you that they can do that experience. Yet they're going to sell a ship for an insane amount of money and sell you on the idea that you can. Right? So it's like, I want them to, like, I've said this a billion times and I'll continue to say it. I hope Chris becomes the richest man in the world because he successfully made the coolest video game ever and everything is awesome. But they don't deserve money if you don't achieve greatness. Like, you don't deserve those kind of things. If, like, they're getting money as if they're making the next World of Warcraft or something. But they're not achieving those goals, right? They're not doing that. They haven't proven that they are doing that. So it's like, it's very frustrating to me that they sell you on something that they don't know if they can do. And then when they go to do it, after you've spent that money, you become disenfranchised with everything because they didn't achieve what you thought they could do. But they never knew if they could in the first place.
Yeah, and the social tools and stuff, it also just takes it takes forever trying to crew these things. Right now we've got the Idris out there, but finding enough people and getting your positions and stuff.
Stop pinging me, Q.
Even on that, we have like some improvements already.
I can read it. I'm reading everything.
That
like what?
The teleport. I don't know if we should talk about that though.
This is the show to talk about it, my friend.
The teleport.
So we have right now. It's not signed off yet. So they are because we have to fit this work into the theme of Star Citizen, and it's if I phrase it now the way that I will phrase it, you understand why it is really hard to put it into the framing of what we sell as Star Citizen. It's the teleport to party leader, where we want to allow players to, in certain situations, be able to quick travel to your party group or your party hangar, and then be able to go on a mission. So we want to reduce the time for you to gather.
No. Guys, Eve Sinos. It's not rip immersion. Nothing. You literally fly through a wormhole, right? They could do anything. They could do anything. So for people, I really want you guys to understand, I want them to do so much more than this. So much more than this. All right, ships that require certain roles, right? Certain ships require certain roles. A mantis, but the opposite, that creates a quantum travel beacon of some kind that allows you to fast travel. Here is the struggle in so many aspects of Star Citizen. This would solve refueling. This would solve salvaging potentially. This would solve just bring an escort PvP bullshit. This could create creating reverse traps to fight other pirates, right? Things like that. So I really, really want you to understand this. If you're able to light the beacons of Minas Tirith, but then somebody is able to jump to that beacon, but it's extremely expensive, has a counter to it, something like that. It has to have balance. It has to have counterplay. It can't just be the beacon's lit and everybody fucking dies, and a whole party jumps in or something like that. There's all sorts of other problems like this. Now, I want to be very clear. It sounds like jump to hangar, jump to party member, but you're not involved in combat at all. Right? That's what it sounds like. That's okay too. I want them to take it further because one of the biggest problems in the game is I am a cargo hauler and I've now been attacked by pirates. My org mates are within the same area as me, but there's no way for them to ever get to me in time to save me. What if I'm being attacked and I can light that beacon? Well, maybe that's not a good thing, right? And I don't agree that it would be. But what if my escort was the beacon ship? So now I don't need an entire group dedicated to protecting me. Just one guy, maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm not a game designer. I've just played other games that does things like this. They're both ass experiences for the people who get dropped on. But it is a really good way to solve the scale of Star Citizen. And because the scale of the game is both a huge advantage and a cool experience that it provides, but it also really prevents helping each other. Right? That's the important thing here, is the game is not fun in so many aspects because when I die or I get disabled, I have to wait an hour for somebody to come and help me. What if I had the ability to carry something where somebody can get to me more quickly? What if I get attacked and my escorts can get to me more quickly? Right? I think that is a piece of the Star Citizen puzzle that is missing. It just needs a level of counterplay and a level of balance. It's not my job to figure those things out, but it is absolutely my job as a Star Citizen backer during the alpha stage to explain how excruciatingly painful it has been to experience their game without something like that, right? Something to that extent.
But it's a bit challenging.
Yeah,
it's something like Concord as well.
At first glance, it seems against the ethos of Star Citizen. So, and that's why he's saying it's not a signed-off feature.
It's not, though. Like, how is that against the ethos of Star Citizen? Like, to me, the ethos of Star Citizen, in their mind, is everything takes forever and it's fucking incredibly boring. And most of the time I'm playing a game, I could be in the kitchen making eggs.
You've heard me say it. We have the same conversations here that you guys have out there just 3 months earlier, and probably just as contentious, to be honest. But we have to explore those.
It's so funny that they think that this is bad. Like that they think that this is polarizing. Well, they use the wrong word, Stefan. They use the word fast travel. And fast travel in a game has a lot of problems with it, right? That are against the ethos of Star Citizen. Make QT faster, problem solved? No. Because you still have to make multiple jumps and then no. Like this ability, the ability to jump directly to somebody almost instantly, but you have to do all the right setup and survive the maybe vulnerability that you have when doing it, sounds completely balanced to me. Also, if only certain ships can do it, then you know that it's coming, potentially, right?
Those things, even if we never do it, even if a teleport feature never comes into Star Citizen, and it may not, guys, we still have to discuss it. Yeah. We have to discuss it. We have to explore it. We have to build a prototype.
So Jared is doing damage control right now. Torsten should not have mentioned this because it was not signed off. And now he's trying to say, well, we may not even do it and things like that. So maybe we shouldn't focus too much on this. But I'm glad they mentioned it because I can't express how important something like that is. It doesn't necessarily have to be fast travel or the way they explain it. It's just very, very important for escorts to not have to literally be holding on to you and tethered to you, in my opinion. And then like refueling and all these other things, saving somebody, medical gameplay. It would be really advantageous to have stuff like that. But they have to figure out ways where it's not overused and then it's not underutilized, right? It's just used just right. So for people who are saying I hate it and stuff like that, I hope you understand that there are situations maybe where you don't like it and there are situations where you do. And you have to make sure that instead of just saying I hate this, I like this, that you communicate maybe where it makes sense to you and where it doesn't make sense to you. So as they're figuring this out, as they're signing off on these things, they give us the opportunity to explain how we would use them. And it may be really useful for them as developers to hear that and understand. How I want to see it used, I get jumped by pirates, I'm able to defend myself. With, if I'm able to counter Zerg maybe. It also escalates fights into big fights quickly. Where people like their advantage in numbers, but then you can kind of even out those numbers more quickly as well, right?
Try it. We have to try anything that can make the process of getting into the game and playing the game more enjoyable, more effective.
Mega orgs will destroy servers with the teleport system. That's why I don't even think it's possible to do it at a large scale. Imagine everybody jumping in at one time in one place in a Star Citizen. It would just break everything.
Perspective has to be considered. That has to be that has to be a major priority, especially as we go towards 1.0. As you go towards 1.0, that priority becomes more and more important. Making the game accessible, making it possible for people to get in and do the things that they want to do. So there may be some things here and there that are like, well, that makes it less like a space sim. Sure, but it makes it more like a fun game.
Again, it's in EVE Online. So anybody who's making arguments about this, it's in EVE Online. It works amazingly well, and it is a paramount feature in that game. But they limit where you could do it. They limit the ships that can do it. They limit the ships that can jump you. So again, I'm speaking from experience. You guys are speaking from feelings. So just remember that. Just remember, I'm speaking from experience. You're speaking from feelings about a game that doesn't exist.
People can play. So
it's one of the lots of people complain about lots of things, but one of the common ones is just the time it takes for you and your friends to go do something in Star Citizen.
Thank you.
We share that pain
John.
as well. So
thank you.
Not everyone has 2 or 3 hours to play the game. Some people might only have an hour. You don't want to spend half an hour, 45 minutes of that time getting everyone together. Some people do.
It's more.
Not everyone does. And then spend 15 minutes quantum traveling somewhere.
Yeah. What do you want to say, Torsten?
It's a bit more than half an hour.
Yeah.
It's being kind. We recognize some of the challenges, and I think if anything can always be taken away from these shows, it's an acknowledgement that we recognize those challenges.
Torsten's based again,
dude. That happen out there are happening here, and that the people here are doing their best to reduce those things and make them better. I mean, I was just in a meeting, last week with Ian and Aaron and Sandy talking about the tutorial, and, what we can do to improve that, because it's
make it work. Doesn't it not work 99% of the time?
You never rest. Yes, we have to make new stuff. We have to make new stuff, new things to do, absolutely. But we also cannot forget that this needs to be a playable and enjoyable experience through and through. And there are quality of life fixes. There are older systems that can be updated, that need to be updated to help us.
Buddy, the quantum travel system, which is the system that literally every single player interacts with every fucking day, has been broken for so fucking long. I am so sick of these conversations while we're talking about quality of life and never focusing on the single biggest quality of life problem in the game. I am so fucking tired of hearing it. Like, stop and actually fix things that matter. Like, oh, we fixed the quality of life on this thing, and then they do this for that shit. And it's like, dude, no.
And then
stop.
There are interesting ideas that
I know why, because of this new flight model garbage and the new quantum travel experience. But like, it is degraded to the point of absolute frustration.
Like the teleport to party leader and stuff.
And maybe it's positive me speaking now, but I think we have a good idea of how we can make it fit for Star Citizen. And I think you will still, like, the way that is being discussed is, you will have advantages still if you do the travel by yourself, but we are very, very aware that not everyone has 3 hours for a gameplay session. So we want to tailor to those. And
yeah, so it's going to cost you something to use. That's the only lever they can pull there.
Yeah, happy to talk about it.
So make quantum travel fast. You cannot make it fast enough. I don't understand how you can't fucking see this, man. I don't understand how you can't see this. I know where you're coming from this, and you're coming from bias, Nerve. You're coming from bias. And before we continue this conversation, you do recognize your bias, correct? That you know this is going to get used against you, and you will not have the advantages that you've had for so many years. You have to understand that is where this is coming from, is that the balance is going away from you, and it's been in your direction for so long. How long have pirates in this game asked for their life to be more difficult? How long have they asked for that? This is the opportunity for people who are anti-piracy to actually fucking double-cross you and trick you. trick you into getting into a fight that you're going to lose. That's the thing that I'm trying to point out here. If it's too effective, it runs the risk of killing pirating. Exactly. That as with everything with Star Citizen, you have to recognize that if they don't do a good job balancing it, which nobody trusts them that they can, that's where part of this bias is as well, is nobody believes that they could do it well. Yet we're all still here. They're taking ideas from Care Bears. Guys, this is the opposite of a Care Bear idea. Right? This is not a Care Bear conversation. It doesn't have to be. How they've explained it, you might be right. Oh, I don't want to set up let's have the FC set up and we'll just jump to them. Right? Okay. We could think of 1,000 ways that this would get abused. And we should do that. Right? Like I said, it's okay if done very carefully. Then you have to explain to them how to do it very carefully instead of just complaining about how this is going to be bad. Oh my God, the sky is falling. What are the situations where the sky would be falling? Right? Those are the conversations that we should be having right now. What are the situations where this can work fantastically, but come at a cost? I think that this is an absolute massive win of an idea and a win for simplicity over complicated bullshit. The fact that they even consider it, whether they do it or not, is a massive win to even consider making the experience better for people in some way. If you're trying to gank a miner or a courier in an org, it only makes sense that they can have immediate backup. But they have to prepare for that. And should they be allowed in a mining ship to just be able to jump people to them without an extreme penalty? Right? So that's where I'm at. I'm already uninstalled and selling my account. This is unacceptable. I hope you're memeing because it's so funny.
Once we are signed off
That's
on that.
That's such a crazy hill to die on.
Yeah, fair enough. Many key career scenarios still lack corresponding ship types. Careers. Okay. So are there plans?
No, it should be expensive craftable. It should be an expensive consumable. Consumable. Not craftable. Consumable.
To fill these gaps?
Yes. I mean, it's a very short answer. We've talked before about we have a huge matrix of size, class, manufacturers, and we want there to be options in every one. We don't want there to be a singular, like, if you want to do...
Can be both.
Let me check size and
matter.
role. This is the only ship for that. We want there to be a pool of ships to pick from. So even though we have gaps in some areas that we will fill, even ones that are filled, we will still expand it. So I don't know.
Yeah, more mining ships.
Let's pick heavy salvage. That's the Reclaimer at the moment. The Reclaimer is not going to be the only ship ever that fits that category. If you don't like Aegis, what are you going to do? Do you want something maybe RSI or Argo? They do the same job, but people are very
yes, I do.
attached to that manufacturer aesthetic.
I'm also attached to the fact that they make a new ship and it would be 10 times better than the Reclaimer, and the Reclaimer is absolute pain to use for that job. So I would love to see what they learned from all the mistakes with the Reclaimer and bring it.
They can lure.
I hope he's hinting at something.
Look cool doing spaceship stuff.
Yeah,
and
I feel good about your spaceship.
Like you have very polarizing fan bases for manufacturers.
Yeah, like an Arastra variant
a Drake
or something.
Ship and an Origin ship that are doing the same role. Under the skin of it, are probably doing that role identically, but how you visually perceive them is two very different experiences.
Now, to point
that out, fucking hate this about this company. visual only instead of really dialing into like this company does this better than another company.
That's for careers and gameplay that exist. Mm-hmm. But I think the question was actually sidestepping to careers and gameplay that doesn't exist. There are ships out there, waiting to be developed that don't have the corresponding gameplay features or something like we'll just say the Banu Merchantman right now, because there actually is not a Banu Merchantman question in this thing.
Very surprised.
You guys picked because
everyone gave up.
But there isn't a Banu Merchantman. But we know
you've demoralized us.
The Merchantman needs things like the shop, like player-owned shops. Like you have to be able to set up your own shop and stuff. Otherwise, what's the point of having a giant merchant ship that you can't merch through? So ships like that are held up less by the tremendous art time, although it is a tremendous amount of art time, and that is a holdup, let's be real, but also by the gameplay requirements. I don't remember where I was going with this. It's hard. I think the question was more asking, what about these gameplay roles that still aren't developed yet? Is there anything any hope you can give us for the future? Is without giving dates, stuff like is there an outstanding gameplay role that has a higher priority than others that might come sooner before others, maybe?
Actually, there's right for crafting. We have one element that we have been talking about that it is still missing. I think even in the last episode we were talking about refineries, and that definitely is one that is very high on our list. Because we sold the Expanse, and
there are other ships that have refineries built in.
Yeah, so there's the Starfarer that has a refinery on it, and it the benefit of us working on it opens up a lot of things, right? So there's also, like we talked about, base building already. So us working on refinery not only finishes or adds another very important element to crafting, it also opens up for ships to be developed with that, and base building allowing us to have refineries at those, and then the station refineries also get more depth.
And it's sort of a lot of the ship gameplay loops that we don't have at the moment also tie into base building. We'll go back to the Merchantman example. Needs player-based shops. You need that for base building as well. So you would have I guess a module, but I can't remember what the correct phrase for the individual building archetypes is. There would be a player shop one, and that will work the same way the shops would work in the ship. So you do one, you get both, and it's the same for a refinery. You have a refinery on a ship, you have a refinery module on your base. Ground extraction in a ship, ground extraction at your base. They sort of build from each other and add maybe I don't want a ship to do this. Maybe I just want to have a base set up to do all these things.
Why would you ever want a ship to do it?
You're not forced one way.
Why would you ever want a ship to do it? Because again, we don't pay attention to what our game is. Nobody can raid your base in Stanton. So why would I ever have a mobile base that can be destroyed and my stuff can be looted? Why would I ever put myself in that situation? Ever. No player with 3 brain cells would ever put themselves in that situation. Ever.
Though you have multiple options.
And especially with all these features, right? So refinery is definitely very high on top of our list of priorities.
Happens in EVE. There's no situation where a player in EVE cannot be killed. There is one in Star Citizen. I mean, in NPC stations in EVE, your stuff can never be stolen from them. That's why people store stuff in those stations.
That we work through, like the shops, is also because we see the interest also with crafting, that there's this high
Here he goes with EVE again? No, it was mentioned in the chat.
Comfortably trade.
The player trading is
the resources, so that is also quite high on our priority list. There are things that are now impacted by the feature work that we have been doing and what we observe in the community, where the urges are higher or lower, and the benefit of us being a bit agile.
You guys reading what I'm reading? See, now you're biased and speaking with emotion. See, I'm speaking from experience. I do have 3 brain cells and I'd do it. Oh, God. Nobody would risk the stuff that they would sell in a ship if it could be killed. Nobody would do that, dude. You are not going to win this argument because it doesn't make any sense. There's no logic behind it. It is no sense. I am being trolled probably, but at the same time, lol, did he take that seriously? I did. Fuck me. Moving on.
In these situations,
Good bait.
we can adjust some of our priorities. We still have like a plan for until 1.0, what we have to reach.
Guess I only have
but
2 brain
within
cells.
that plan, we
Fuck.
can shuffle things around a bit at least, and priorities one thing over the other. But also like the repair gameplay now with all the engineering gameplay work and so on and so forth.
Mike doesn't know item recovery exists. Buddy, if item recovery exists in the way that it does, I quit anyway. So it doesn't matter. I will never play this game in the way that item recovery currently exists. Done.
Right now it is very exclusive to the hand tool.
I already
Now
know it
with,
needs to change.
4.8 we have the ing-hanger repair for the capital chips, so that's also like a small addition already. So we now have that for as a gameplay feature for ships. But there's also the dedicated repair ships. I personally try to avoid as good as possible, and John and Rich can confirm in the vehicle leadership meetings. I try to avoid that because like we have some plans and I really would like to invest some time into that. But right now it's like with all the, like I really would like to finish the crafting stuff first before we tackle into that. But that is me saying that. That doesn't mean that like at some point someone says, no, we now need a repair ship and then I have to shuffle things around.
Torsten always tries to avoid all the repair questions I give him, but if we talk science module for the Endeavour,
I still want to strike a deal with no one checks what I will do about that science module, and I can go free. That is a deal that I still want to do.
I would love to see what that ends up being.
Everyone is afraid.
That's the sound of 1,000 people melting 1,000 endeavors right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the opposite.
I really want.
It's the sound of them buying it at a buyback instantly. I know
really
he's
does want
joking.
I do want it, yes. But
Before we get off,
That's the sound of the one dev at the entire company that actually cares about making something fun instead of all the other devs that are just going through the motions and selling spaceships. That's the sound that I heard. Jared's just making a joke. I'm not contradicting Jared.
Salvage, and you've got crafting here. Is refining another thing at that level, or is it like a sub-level that just kind of goes across everything?
so if you mean it, if it is a full profession, we treat it as a full profession.
Okay.
So it has the depth as crafting has. Yeah.
Well, okay. So there will be people
We'll
like
see about that.
I'm going to spend today refining, and I'm going to go and there's going to be gameplay and all the things you need to do.
There should be a reason for you having a dedicated refining ship in comparison. So
Cool.
So there you go. That's what profession means. Understood. Okay. Noted. If it has a dedicated ship, then it's a profession. Instead of, this is what I do every day as a player, because we don't think that way at CIG at all. Fuck me. God damn it.
Are suit lockers, just leave it there, suit lockers. Are suit lockers in ships getting any closer
I just
to
scared
becoming
the
a
dog.
thing, especially with the upcoming feature
Torsten, you made me scare the dog.
of flight suits being necessary to be able to handle more G-forces?
Yes, so from a vehicle content side, we have started the work to make sure they are all up to spec in our ships. So we have the prototype for what will hopefully be the initial rollout of functional suit lockers. Obviously we have suit lockers in all of our ships, but they're just, I think most people use them as temporary jail cells for people at the moment.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want to speak on behalf of the feature team doing the work, but we have got our templates there and we're going through all the ships and checking that the volumes are correct and you can interact with them in a quick and clean manner, because we don't want it to be, you go to your suit locker, press button on the door.
Sounds like a long
world's slowest
initiative.
animation of a door opening.
Maybe by the end of the year?
You interact, swap your equipment, and it goes back up again. So there's a few ships where the doors need changing or just removing. And hopefully in the initial release of that, which I'm not going to give a date for, there will be a pretty comprehensive selection of ships supported. Not every ship has suit lockers. Not every ship is going to get suit lockers. So it's sort of a, if your ship has suit lockers now, it's going to support it, hopefully. If you are in a ship that doesn't have any anywhere, there was probably a reason it didn't have that, and we don't particularly want that level of gameplay there with that ship.
It's the whole, not every ship is supposed to do everything.
Yeah.
Remove the pits from cockpits.
There's supposed to be choices.
Yes.
There's supposed to be sometimes some hard choices. That's intentional.
Yeah.
Game design. Speaking of hard choices, will the Caterpillar ever be given the ability to have detachable modules and ability to be outfitted for different scenarios like it advertises on the website?
Yes,
or
Brogdon.
will we be looking at a Mark II version in the future?
Again, speaking from my point of view, I don't want to Mark II the Caterpillar. I want to pretty much
It needs just the
fully
modules.
redo it to its current state, not as a Mark II, and give it the modularity. So we've recently been working on the Caterpillar in a very limited scope to support the command module feature, and that sort of highlighted
How bad
just
it is.
how old that asset is.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, every ship we do, we learn from.
But the visual experience that the Caterpillar provides is unlike any other ship I've ever experienced, and it is so unique and is so cool from that standpoint. To take what they were talking about of like, it's a cargo ship, but it feels like a cargo ship, because when I'm flying, the cargo's not behind me, it's in front of me. It's like the only ship that you can feel. Well, one of the few, I should say, because the Idris does this too, where the cockpit is set back, so you're seeing the ship without having to go in third person. Most of the ships, everything's behind you, right? So it's like really successful from that standpoint of like, I don't need to go in third person and feel cool. Yeah, like the Ironclad's probably going to feel like that as well, right? Where it's like, hey, I could see what I'm doing. Like I could just see it. It feels nice. There aren't that many ships that do that. But yeah, I like that about it. Perseus too, sure. I've not flown a Perseus really, so. But the offset version of the Caterpillar is like takes that to another level, where it's just totally different.
So going back to something that at this point is probably about 10 years old was quite an experience for some of the artists who worked on it. And yes, we still want to do modules. The Caterpillar, as you know it and love it, will look broadly the same when we do that. But expect it to be brought up internally to the current standard that you see in the Ironclad.
Good, and it
You
should.
want to talk about any of the modules you're considering?
We never officially disclosed any, I believe, but
They never did.
Broadside.
but
Broadside.
there'll obviously be a
Broadside.
cargo one.
I don't give a crap about a broadside module.
I'm sure there will be a combat one.
Broadside. I want
And that's Jared not saying something that's happening. That's Jared saying what he wants.
cannons, the doors open.
We've all wanted
cannons
that.
on
Roll
either
the
side.
cannons out.
I want broad.
Yep.
Or if it's got to be on one side, and we got to turn around like an old sailing ship, like to do the other side.
Yeah.
Broadside cannons.
I'd love to do broadside cannons.
I heard
there will-
scientific module.
You heard it here. John Crew commits to doing broadside module for Caterpillar. He committed to it.
yeah.
Him wanting to do it is the same as
As
Money in the
committing.
Bank.
Yep, exactly. No, it's not, obviously.
Other modules will be available.
So here's a good
The fact that people will definitely take that as fact 5 years from now, saying, didn't John Crew say?
follow-up question. What criteria does a ship need to
'Cause
meet
we forget.
before being selected for a rework or a Mark II?
Okay, multiple layers to that. So obviously, it needs to
I will be that guy, by the way,
where it just isn't fulfilling its role in the game. And we'll use the Aurora Mark 1 as the example here, because that had both a gold standard and a Mark 2. So the Aurora, one of the first 5 ships in the game, it had changes quite a long time ago, but Star Citizen now as a game compared to where it was, say, 5 years ago is very different. The missions are different, the gameplay is different.
Connie fits its role.
And what we wanted to do with that ship
just ugly.
Just couldn't be done with what the Mark 1 was without fundamentally changing it. So at that point, we decided, let's upgrade the Mark 1 to current methodologies of how we build ships, make it look really good, give it as much as we can in the space we have available. That's gold standard. You can play the game with it now. You can competently do things. You can't do everything. And again, it's a starship. You don't want it. Not all ships should be able to do everything. It gives you a great taste of the game. Mark II, same ethos, current styling visuals. So Mark IIs are for where the Mark I is fine, but we want to radically change the visuals primarily of a ship. Mark I Hornet to Mark II Hornet, both medium fighters, both have pretty terrifying gun loadouts. Visually very different. Aurora's the same, very visually different. As to how and when, primarily that's
for the length of the show. I'm just not going to speak now because I'm
a resources point of view. There's only so many people that work on ships. They can't do everything all at the same time. We have to pick and choose. We're doing the Kraken at the moment. That's a big investment of time with people. If we weren't doing that, we could do a lot more smaller things. So again, at the director and executive level, we're deciding almost like a year in advance where we spend our tokens to develop things. So we have to hit that criteria of there's a valid need for it. Do we have the staff available to do it? And also, is it sort of something the community wants? Not to dismiss some ships over other ones, there's more value to things like the Aurora and the Hornet that have been here a long time, getting a gold standard and a Mark II than a more modern ship.
Yeah, it's you say most of the 2027 ship schedule is already set, and so that's how far ahead of time many of these decisions are made. Sometimes we can
the game schedule though
we can fudge a little bit.
Yeah,
here
we try very hard. Like
when
we start a ship, we don't stop it because we try. We try. There are occasions.
Banu merchant.
We try, but it can be very disruptive internally for like stopping. Like, are we releasing this? Or are we not releasing this? Are we stopping? Are we starting? So once we start something, we try and see it through all the way to the end. And some of these ships can be 6, 12, 18 months for development. So I could say here today, we're gonna do X ship.
But guys, they know how to develop games. Make the tools that you use to interact with the game before you make the game itself. Science.
You might not hear about that for another year or so.
All right. Please improve gamepad support for Star Citizen. The current PlayStation controller key bindings are completely non-functional, and Xbox controller key bindings and curve settings also have significant problems. The controller configuration and overall gamepad compatibility needs to be completely reworked.
Yo, fuck that guy. Fuck that guy, dude. Fuck anybody who plays with a controller on a PC game. I don't care. Fuck you. You suck. But I will say this. Controllers are extremely important for people with disabilities. So there has to be a balance. But we all know that controllers break the balance of FPS games and stuff like that. So my initial statement is speaking from there. But people with disabilities, man, it's kind of necessary. So, you got to hear them out. But we all know what we want to say. We all know how we feel. But you got to understand, you want as many people playing Star Citizen as possible. We just don't like console gamers. That's all we're trying to say. Fuck you. Everyone else, you're cool.
Now, this is one of those things. I remember we did the holiday live stream, not that one, a different one
about
in 2015, whatnot, where Chris played the game live, and he played on a gamepad. You played Star Citizen, on a gamepad.
Chris has a disability as well.
Gate 3, whatnot. I played.
His disability is he's unable to stop changing things. Right? So that's why he uses a controller.
On PC, I still prefer to play it on a gamepad, even when I'm playing on PC. It's, for some people, it is just the preferred control scheme. What, if anything, are we doing to support gamepad?
So, there again for Squadron, because like you say, tons of people play PC games with controllers, and I do it myself personally. Is that
self-report. We found one. Get them.
I connect my DualShock controllers up to my PC so I can play it, and then when I go to my PS5, I'm not having to muscle memory relearn everything.
Explains
so there's
everything.
been a lot of work on the Squadron side to improve that will come back to Star Citizen. Again, it's
Squadron 42 on console confirmed. Potentially there a little bit more. Did we just catch him?
Not just why doesn't someone just copy the file from here to here and make it work? The flight systems are different. The hints are different. It's a very different tailored experience. It won't just work out the box. So it does need some fine tuning. Again, the flight model is different in Squadron to where it is right now in Star Citizen. The quantum experience is different for where it is right now in Star Citizen. So you can't just copy it over. But a lot of work has been done to make that experience be better, and for a whole range of other peripherals. It's not just the big ones. It's just for...
If you can say one thing is Star Citizen is very supportive on all the different peripherals that exist.
Yeah. I think as long as Chris is a champion, of course.
Are they negating what the person is saying though? Is it really that big of a deal? Is there an actual problem with PS5 controllers and shit? Because they're not acknowledging that issue that the person was talking about. They're just talking generally about other peripherals and stuff. So I haven't had that issue. Okay, cool. Only Xbox is natively supported, and that guy uses PS5. That's the issue so that's the question that was being asked, and that's not the answer that he got.
But it's Benoit. As long as Benoit is here, this man, I've never met anybody that's more engaged by peripherals and any piece of interactive tech, whether it's
the keybind strain's horrendous,
it's VR or whatever, it's D-Box and whatnot. It's whatever we can do to allow people to play this game the way that they want to play is going to be a priority from our technical teams and stuff like that.
Yeah, you got to use DS for Windows, right?
That includes gamepads, but not at the exclusion of full sim rig.
I did not like that.
We want to. Maybe we're silly, but we want to do it all, and we believe we can. So, all right, Torsten.
What?
Now, I want to be clear that I'm just reading the question here. This isn't...
Okay.
The existing armor mechanics are fundamentally ill-suited for future gameplay. No matter how the numbers are tuned, armor will never behave realistically in actual combat. It amounts to nothing more than a single hit point bar. Armor should be diversified, for example, providing immunity against ballistic weapons size 4 and below, while energy weapons size 2 and above could deal heavy damage to armor. Thank you for listening to my ideas. No, he didn't say that. I added that. What are your plans?
So...
Put it in an application.
So some of the stated ideas in that statement should already be true. So energy weapons are more efficient against armors in comparison to ballistic weapons. Maybe the difference is not that distinctive. So that's something that we have been working on for the 4.8 release. There are some changes coming in for the 4.8 release, as I think we already stated at the beginning of this show, that hopefully fixes some of the major concerns. For example, a very prominent one that just popped into my head is a Scorpius cannot damage a Scorpius. So Scorpius fighting Scorpius is an infinite fight, except using missiles. But so...
Yeah, like that's crazy. Thank you, Chaos.
The armor system that we put in is as much effort as we put into it and make it right. It is justice, and just is even the wrong word. It's a stopgap filler for Maelstrom. Maelstrom is the system we always wanted to achieve. We have been advertising Maelstrom for ages at this point as the real physicalized materials that impact or like we go for a full physical damage model rather than a health bar model. So,
which has the chance to overcomplicate everything. And like, what is wrong with it just being another health bar? Is that really that bad of a thing?
Everyone that dislikes health bars, yeah, not a thing anymore with Maelstrom.
I like health bars.
As long as we are not at that point yet.
Because then you can balance things around, this is a stronger armor ship, this is a stronger shield ship, and then you have certain ships that do better damage with weapons that do damage against shields, and then you counterplay each other and things like that. Oh, that variety you were trying to give with other ships, holy shit. Now it's really simplistic and easy to understand for everybody. Health bars are boring. War Thunder made that very obvious. I've never played War Thunder, but simple doesn't have to be boring. I'm going to let them cook too, but I'm still just going to state that it's simple doesn't have to be boring either.
We at least want to see how the game feels once we get like the full experience of Maelstrom. And one of that feel is the armor. The armor right now is a very binary system. I do agree. It is by intent though, because we wanted to have this clear distinction between certain projectiles will just ricochet off of your armor. And sure, there are things that we have been even discussing in our, like I've been mentioning it a lot, but this is the topic we are talking about in our vehicle leadership group. As with all the other things, we don't want to overdo with changes, right? So for 4.8, we want to iterate over what we got. And the iteration is basically fixing all the issues there with the inconsistency between certain fighters not damaging each other, certain weapons not being clear enough as an advantage over the others. But overall, I think at least what this statement said is like, I feel comfortable in saying at least the majority of that statement we will have in a better state in 4.8. They are just things that we cannot do with the armor system that we have right now. Like I've seen, like people reached out to me with a lot of suggestions. They are good suggestions. I don't disagree, but that means we need to invest more time into that. We need to derail some other feature work that we are doing. So there's a lot of considerations, and I think what we have right now is something we can build on, we can improve, and
we didn't too much wasted work while you're waiting for Maelstrom.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, that's the big topic. We cannot.
Every minute you put into this is work that has to be replaced when Maelstrom comes in. So not every minute, but there's going to be some calculus here.
At least we try to be smart about some decisions that we take now, so we don't have to.
So it's always the problem. I mean, John, you and I have done enough of these shows where it's like we would love to do that, but we know we'd have to replace that afterwards. So rather than do,
I wish Chris struck oil under his house and had an endless flow of money that was outside of the project that he can inject into it somehow, because the only reason that we have a playable experience now, which holds all of this up, and this conversation would be completely moot and wouldn't matter is because they have to continuously release patches to keep us interested, so we continuously buy spaceships. Like, it's this circular argument that always leads to the same thing, that the only reason you have this problem is because you have to sell spaceships. And you would just not bring everything up to this fidelity and functionality level that you wouldn't need to do in any game's traditional development, and you would have achieved all of these goals of yours way sooner, because you wouldn't be distracted by all this other bullshit of having to balance and release and fix pieces of the game. And it gets worse every day. The more things they add to the game, the more things under a Torsten's umbrella need to get fixed. And it just gets worse and worse and worse as the day goes on. And it never gets any better. It just gets worse.
Work that you know you have to throw out. Let's work on things that we know actually have a chance at staying and continuing. And I was surprised when I saw the armor stuff go in, because I knew, I thought we were doing Maelstrom and stuff. But
same,
again,
to be honest.
It's like there are experiences that can be tested now. There's data that can be gathered now by doing this work with armor today while you're waiting for Maelstrom. Like I said, you wanted to test out how this feels and that feels. You can get that feedback now without having to wait for Maelstrom, and then maybe it would affect certain things with
I can already say that some of the observations and some of the feedback that we got definitely ended up on our notes list for Maelstrom once it comes to the PU. So some things that
which is already in Squadron, by the way, is our understanding.
The armor system is already a direct copy of how Maelstrom works. But then we notice, okay, we have to adjust those. So we already have notes for Maelstrom to be adjusted exactly the way that we are adjusting the armor system. So it helps us in the long run. So we have to spend less time in iterating over the Maelstrom system, because we are already doing that in a different system, but it's the same.
Yeah. And for those who might take this like, well, if that's how it was, then this must not mean very good for Squadron. Again, single player, curated experience, massively multiplayer online, space game. The distinctions are night and day. It can work wonderfully for the curated experience that we're building there, and just not here, which is where all the additional work comes from. Now that PDCs, point defense cannons, or point defense turrets, and we tried to call them PDTs, but it's hard to rebrand something. Now that PDTs with automated combat functionality have been implemented, will the auto turret drones deployed by something like the Aegis Nautilus work in similar fashion?
So drones are a big topic for us, and that is base building. So I think we talked about that in CitizenCon. Where did we show?
A little bit.
Yeah. So drones are a key or an essential part for.
What are those? So for anybody who doesn't understand the Nautilus reference, is it drops. It doesn't drop drones. It drops mines. It's a mine layer ship, but it also drops sentry guns on those mines, essentially. So that's what the person's referencing. It's not even really a drone. And the Nautilus is another one of those examples of the cart before the horse, coming up with gameplay before it actually exists and makes sense.
Building. And the moment that we have that tech, that opens up all the opportunities for, again, right?
So many ships.
So many ships. So it's basically, again, like from crafting, base building, into drones, into opening up for all the features that we have ships with.
Yeah, and for that very specific Nautilus turret mine example, yes, you would have the drone side of it, but also the turret on it would function how PDTs work, but there's also things we want to do to PDTs between now and then to make them better. At the moment, they're very binary, like they're powered, they do whatever they want. We want to give you the control of like, maybe don't auto-engage immediately. Maybe wait for me to have confirmation. Only target select things. Ignore this. Like, don't target fighters. Don't waste your ammo on fighters. Only go for torpedoes, or change. Internally, they have I
still think they shouldn't shoot fighters. Period.
Order of like, do torpedoes first, then do missiles, then do ships, then do other things. And maybe you don't want that order. Maybe you want to have ships first and you don't want to have them, we want to give players that control. And when you have that on your PDTs and then on a drone, and then in the Nautilus, then it's a much more compelling experience.
The minute you give me the ability to set my target priorities for my PDTs, I'm just taking something with like 15
You don't log into the game. Stop.
my PDTs, like theaters or whatever, and I'm setting it only for people, and I'm flying over Jumptown and just being like, bye. I'm just gonna fly upside down right over Jumptown. Just be like, of course I'm not taking my interest upside down, but you get the idea.
He wouldn't know how to find Jumptown.
890 jump. It has a lot of PDTs on it, doesn't it? Yeah,
Kraken full of MDTs.
Oh yeah, Kraken with the MDTs, with the MDCs on top, or yeah. Rich, anybody, ground vehicles. Like honestly,
my
this
favorite
is the
subject.
question. Just ground vehicles. We talk about ground vehicles almost as long as we've talked about the next version of the flight model.
Yeah.
Like.
So the two,
And they've never had a point. They've never had a point.
things are connected.
Using a ship has always been the better option because they just move more freely.
So we wanted to complete what we think is the new flight experience first before we moved our resources onto the ground vehicles. But, well, it was like 3 years ago now, we did do a update in a very limited slot of time we had to introduce a new time model, some new suspension physics, and just generally how they behave. Now, by going this route of how the flight model behaves...
But ballista's fun as hell. I mean, isn't a ballista just kind of a stationary Firebird, right?
in terms of going for realism, but accessibility and just the thing feeling good in the game. It made the ground vehicles better, but also introduced some of the problems in the ground vehicles because we freed up the physics to react more kind of realistically, which inherently makes them look unrealistic at times because we're hitting solid objects with the bottom of the vehicle or with the suspension kind of funny, and the vehicles would do strange things. And that's just down to the fact that...
Yeah, everyone's saying that we need POIs and stuff where we can't get to them with ships. I think we got really excited with Stormbreaker. I don't know what like the area is called. I forget. But a lot of us got really excited by that, and then they never really did much with it.
We've got work to do. So we've got a framework of the ground vehicles.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, we've got a meeting very, very soon to discuss the kind of ground vehicle 1.0 plan of what we want to achieve with ground vehicles. Because as we do base building, we do combined arms, the ground vehicles are going to become even more important for the universe. So we've got a plan to improve the time model, the suspension, but just the general way that the vehicles interact with our world. It's when you hit rock.
In the end, I just want racing with them. I don't care. I love racing. I know he does too, so I can't wait to see how he cooks. He was like a big sim racer.
And stuff, the vehicles don't flip over and crash all the time. And
how he wants to be with science.
Strange.
He wants to be with the sim racing,
the vehicles
I think.
do have mass, but the force that is generated is a very hard force. It's a very kind of simple calculation of just you hit objects, force generated, force is applied to the ground vehicle. But we're going to start controlling that so it feels much more natural. And also, we're looking at converting the ground vehicles to the exact same systems that the spaceships work on as well. So they'll have an engine, power plant, and everything will work as a normal Star Citizen vehicle does as well. And this overall will have a much more kind of natural feeling ground vehicle in the end, once we get some time to work on the physics of, just how it interacts with the world. And I'm kind of excited by that, which will hopefully allow us to do more interesting gameplay and for the vehicles to kind of
actually have
be able to do more. Yeah, just be able to do more in the game and have that purpose where so you can go take your ballista, park it somewhere, and have it in the right spot that you want it, so you can use it for that purpose.
Actually,
I mean, you can do that already. Like that's the thing is you can already do that, but it's just tell me why I would use most of the vehicles over ships. I think ballista is like one of the odd examples where it kind of works and makes sense, right?
There was this, I forgot the name, like the big facilities we have on the ground.
Distribution centers.
Thank you. Distribution centers. Those were like our first intent of making ground vehicles more viable, because we like equipped those distribution centers with very effective turrets so that you should land further out. Our planet environments weren't built for that. So we had a bumpy road ride.
One of the biggest problems the ground vehicles have are the very beautiful looking planets that we don't have nice roads on, because part of it is they're not habitable or like, I can't think of the word. Civilized with infrastructure, so there isn't roads there. And a lot of people underestimate the scale of Star Citizen.
But guys, like, honestly, do you feel distribution centers need roads and need all of these things because it's good for the game? Or do you think you need them because you bought a ground vehicle or because they sell a ground vehicle? Like, did they sell like something and then are trying to create the solution for that problem, where if they never existed at all, you wouldn't feel like you were missing anything, right? Like if they just used hover vehicles for racing, would you be okay with that? I feel like I would, but I don't want to just speak for me in this situation. They're also really useful for like boarding ships and stuff. Like they have their place, and they're like kind of successful, right? Avoiding turrets and stuff, like the really small stuff, makes total sense. But vehicles with wheels in 1,000 years in the future just doesn't.
They're bombing along in their Cyclone, which they don't realize makes like a Humvee look small. And they hit what they think is a small rock. But if you stood next to it in real life, it's 2 meters tall. So a vehicle traveling 40 meters a second, hitting something that essentially has infinite mass in how it is in the world. In the real world, you'll just go pancake into it. But our vehicles have mass. That thing doesn't have mass. Like Rich talked about, it was changed to a more realistic model, and then we had to rapidly change it because the physical forces that were being imparted on the vehicles was just insane. So there's lots of things we've had to do to tone it down.
Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting.
It's one of those things like Star Citizen's, is it a spaceship game? Is it an FPS game? It's Rich Shire will tell you it's an everything game, and that's what we're attempting to do. That has to include.
So it's a nothing game. Got it. Okay.
Ground vehicles.
Yeah.
I think
explains why we're where we are.
Ground vehicles have been sort of.
You're in everything. You're a nothing.
This unfortunate kind of side shunt over here. They've never really found their purpose in the verse, and it's like when I saw something like Stormbreaker for the first time, like I was excited.
Same. We all were, Jared.
We all were. Doesn't allow you to fly ships in and stuff like this. I'm like, great, do something like that where you can do vehicles
and then we used trams. Everybody's favorite thing.
Like
3 minutes on a tram.
Imagine the entire patch content was ground vehicle related. You had to do the entire patch content in ground vehicles and stuff like this. And the answer I got back from creative director Ian Leyland was, we'd love to, but playing in ground vehicles right now isn't that great. So if you do an entire patch content that requires everybody to roll around in ground vehicles, you better make sure the ground vehicles are fun and actually work the way. So it's
thank you, Ian.
Yeah, it's just that's another smaller dream. First dream is the big giant. Battle cruiser kind of thing.
Yes, Jared, battle cruiser. We know.
The second thing is, I just love an entire content drop that is
sell the battle cruiser.
Yeah, you can't bring ships.
Want them to be just as good as the ships, and that maybe to the point where you never even want a ship. You're just content with your base.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that emote in forever. The one that says "Thank you, Ian" next to it. That emote is so fucking stupid.
Ground vehicles, tooling around, doing all the game loops with ground vehicles.
Adding to that, even it's like, so right now it's like also not the most like convenient thing to call your ground vehicles. So that is something that we have on our list also for ages at this point, which is ground vehicles through freight elevator or nested spawning of ships with ground vehicles. So good news is we have been working on that, but I was about to say, we proved it with the Atlas, but the Atlas is
not technically a vehicle.
It's technically not a vehicle, but no, it has been on our list for quite some time. Because the moment that we allow ground vehicles to be more comfortably stored or pulled up and then being stored in your ship, I think they also will be used naturally more than what they are right now. Because right now it's
for sure.
Pardon my French, it's a bit of a pain.
The Atlas.
I think he was gonna curse and then decided not to.
This is not technically a vehicle. It's a very large person you crawl into.
Yes.
I said those words. I think we got time for a couple more here. Refueling, passenger transport, retail, and escort gameplay all have functionality but lack player motivation. How will you make players genuinely want to engage with these?
Good question.
Good news. Refueling.
Finish for one of those.
At least for one of those. Now we are aware that sometimes you need extrinsic motivation to try out gameplay loops in our game, and refueling is one of the few ones that we. Like, when we released it for the first time, there were a lot of that because it's a new gameplay. People were coming up with their own goals. They organized themselves. We even had a brief moment where the fuel rats came into our game and were distributing fuel. They left again, but I think, at least I've stopped noticing them there. But anyway, derailing. So it worked for a short time. Like with all intrinsic urges you have,
If anybody who doesn't know what the fuel rats are, they are an organization in Elite Dangerous that you can often get lost out in space without fuel, or more often at least than in Star Citizen, and they go to save you. There's similar people in EVE Online. If you get lost in wormholes, that they'll come and save you, and find your way out. And then we don't really have the ability to do that in Star Citizen very well.
It's a smaller time frame rather than you get external reward. And for the next patch, there is finally some external rewards for that, because we will introduce refueling missions. So that will be all the owners of Starfarers and other refueling ships will be allowed to refuel stranded NPCs. So if an NPC ran out of fuel, they will pop up a mission, and you in your Starfarer or...
I love Torsten. How the fuck does this answer that question? Players want reasons to do things. We've had tons of missions forever. They have not done the best job of creating motivation to do these careers like careers.
Fuel-giving ship will be able to head over there and refuel them. So there is suddenly a purpose on
you and your Starfarer, or...
Yeah, see, use the word purpose. That is not a purpose. That is not a purpose right now.
Fuel-giving ship.
Or other ships.
Other fuel-giving ship. That might have seen a sneak peek of in the weekly newsletter last week or the week after. Well, it depends on when you're watching this. I think this episode doesn't air for the full community until the 14th or something.
Well, we have the Starfarer Gemini. I just didn't want to say the Gemini.
The only time we've ever had a variant produced by a different manufacturer.
True.
It's the same manufacturer, isn't it? Oh, no, it's not. It's Aegis, right?
Although I just saw on the website it's still listed under MISC. It's not listed under Aegis.
Yeah, that's why I was confused, because it was listed under MISC.
Fix that. He's in charge of the website. He's not
I'll
in
go
charge
fix
of
the website.
He's not in charge of the website at all. All right, folks. That's it for the show. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you're the...
It made me more mad that this wasn't shared right away and all this information was held back for a week, because this was all actually pretty good episode.
Fine folks watching in Xi'an, China, thank you for taking the time to take this and localize it with subtitles for the viewers. we always like doing this show for you guys out there. And then if you're watching at home or in your car or wherever later, we hope you have found the information helpful and useful and
definitely
worthwhile.
One of the best SCLs of the year.
I'm Jared. That was John. That's Torsten. That's Rich. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back with another show soon. I think technically it might actually be tomorrow by the time this actually airs. Calendars. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
It won't be. So, all right. That was SCL. Pretty good. I'm going to go eat some food because I'm starving. That was a 2-hour react. And highlights, I'm trying to remember now. Teleporting. That's insane. We'll see what happens with that. So many good things can happen. So many bad things can happen. CIG not great at balancing. What will happen with teleporting? Who knows? But it's huge. So we'll see. Catch you later, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.